What is up, y'all? It's your boy Charles Arnaz World, that thumbs up button. We are celebrating 50 years of hip hop. 50 years. Hip hop has made it to the age of 50 years old. Wow, hip hop, you getting up there, baby. And listen, to follow along with the whole celebration of hip hop, we're gonna go down memory lane and check out some of this historic stuff that happened during the course of hip hop. This happened about when hip hop was about 25 years old. This happened with the night Suge Knight from Death Row tried to make a guy drink his own urine or drink his urine. Or whoever urine he's trying to make him drink. He's trying to make him do something. Let's go ahead and check this video out, guys. The thumbs up button. And I'm going to come back with my reaction. I can get it to play. Oh, here we go.
Who had worked as a gang intelligence officer in South Central LA for 4 years during the mid-1980s. Cliques like the Hoover Crips and the Rolling 60s figured they had enough people to take care of their own business and very rarely turned to one another for assistance. If the Bloods wanted payback, though, they'd have a big conclave of groups like the Van Ness
All the villains,
Gangsters, who were the biggest Bloods gang
you know where I
in
live
South
at.
Central, and the Black P. Stones, who controlled the jungles. They could bring in Bloods from Compton and Inglewood, and they'd all decide together how to deal with the Crips. That's what made them so dangerous. They were equally, if not more vicious than the Crips. As a young
Just as a disclaimer, guys, I am not affiliated with any gang whatsoever. I'm not neither Crip, Blood, or anything in between, guys. I am just a average black man in America. All right, just wanted to put that disclaimer out
police
there.
officer in South Central LA, what most astounded and appalled him, Poole said, were the number of shootings, nearly all of them gang-related, that would occur in a single 8-hour shift. I'd never seen even a single gunshot victim before I encountered them in the field, and let me tell you, there is nothing that
Wow.
can prepare you for the real blood and guts of gun violence. Seeing people die in front of you, and the agony of friends and loved ones who are present, the screaming and wailing and incredible chaos of a shooting scene in South Central. For years, Poole carried a photograph that had been taken at the scene of a gun battle between 2 carloads of Crips and Bloods. 2 Bloods were in this car near Fremont High School when this car full of Crips pulls up on the driver's side, flashing signs and exchanging epithets, and finally their guns come out. The passenger in the Bloods car whips out a sawed-off shotgun and points it past the driver's face in the direction of the Crips. Just at that moment, though, they come to a curve, and as they go around, the Bloods driver leans forward and the shotgun goes off.
Oh,
When I arrive, the driver is sprawled out the car's
Jesus.
open door and half
Oh,
his
my
head is
God.
gone. One eye is blown to bits and the other is just lying in the cavity of his head. There's pieces of brain and bone and blood everywhere. It was the goriest thing I ever saw, and believe me, I saw a lot of gory things. You never get used to it. Anyway, I kept the crime scene photographs to show some of the young kids
I'm saying these guys be doing that stuff, man. They don't even know how to use the guns they even carrying around. He done blew his own homeboy head off. Crazy.
I met who were just starting off in the gangster life. They all said they expected to die young, but when I'd show them these photographs, they'd get a lump in their throat, some of them. I always wondered if it made any difference. Suge Knight's childhood was idyllic compared to that of most youngsters in his Compton neighborhood. He had 2 gainfully employed parents, Marion Sr., a janitor at UCLA, and Maxine, who worked on the assembly line in an electronics factory. And both doted on him, excessively in his mother's case. Suge also could claim the ghetto's one universally accepted exemption from membership in a street gang. He was an athlete. 6 feet, 2 inches tall, with a strong body that was growing thicker every year, Suge earned letters in both football and track all 4 years at Linwood High, then won a football scholarship from El Camino Community College after his graduation in 1983. In 1985, now listed on the program at 260 pounds, Suge transferred to the University of Nevada at Las Vegas. Wearing number 54 and starting at defensive end, Suge was voted UNLV's Rookie of the Year, got elected defensive captain, and won first-team all-conference honors. On campus, he was regarded as a big, friendly guy who slapped backs, told jokes, and indulged with remarkable moderation in drugs, sex, and alcohol. Other teammates from the inner city were arrested for armed robberies, carjackings, and sexual assaults, but Suge made his extra spending money by working as a bouncer at the Cotton Club. During his senior season, though, Suge became a more remote and mysterious character. Overnight, he had enough money to rent an apartment by himself and to purchase a series of late-model sedans. He
Hmm.
regularly received visitors from Compton and developed a reputation as perhaps the biggest
Hmm.
drug dealer on campus. When he was
What?
drafted by the Los Angeles Rams after his last season at UNLV in 1987, Suge promptly dropped out of school and moved back to LA. He
Hmm.
made the Rams roster during the strike-shortened 1988-89 season and crossed picket lines to perform as a replacement player, but was
Oh
cut from
wow.
the team when the strike ended and the real pros returned to action.
Oh, that sucks.
Suge Knight's criminal record began at almost the same time his football career ended. In October of 1987, his future wife, Sharitha Golden, first obtained a restraining order against her possessive boyfriend, then had
Hmm.
him arrested for grabbing her by the hair and cutting off her ponytail during an argument in the driveway of her mother's house.
Oh
2 weeks later on Halloween night, Suge was
That's
arrested
crazy.
in Las Vegas for shooting a man twice, once in the leg and once in the wrist, while stealing his Nissan Maxima. When the Las Vegas police arrested him, Suge was carrying a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver in the waistband of his pants. Incredibly, though, a well-connected attorney, a contrite courtroom appearance, and his reputation as an athlete helped Suge have the felony charges against him reduced to misdemeanors. He escaped with a $1,000 fine and 3 years probation. In 1990, also in Las Vegas, Suge used a loaded pistol to break a man's jaw and pleaded guilty to felony assault with a deadly weapon, yet managed to walk away with a $9,000 fine and a 2-year suspended sentence.
Man.
By then, Suge was working in Los
He looked
Angeles
like
as
a
a
he looked like
bodyguard
a
for Whitney
he looked like
Houston's
a
future
giant DJ
husband,
Envy.
singer Bobby Brown.
Yeah.
He soon found a new employer, though, in Beverly Hills sports agent Tom Klein, who had
Hold up,
become
dude. Let me go
fascinated
back.
by the music
Let me go
business
back to
line
that
and a
dude. Hold up.
2-year suspended sentence.
Oh, he looked like a giant DJ Envy from the Breakfast Club. Like if DJ Envy was like got pumped up, he looked like a football playing DJ Envy. That's crazy.
By then, Suge was working in Los Angeles as a bodyguard for Whitney Houston's future husband, singer Bobby Brown. He soon found a new employer, though, in Beverly Hills sports agent Tom Klein, who had become fascinated by the music business and hired Suge as a driver, bodyguard, talent scout. Once he began using the agent's office to audition rap acts, however, Suge was talking about forming his own record label. His best listener was a
Hmm.
lanky, yellow-complected young rapper named Tracy Curry, who performed as the DOC. Curry started hanging with a group of young men from Compton who were the core members of the group NWA,
Hmm.
Niggas with Attitude. These included Eazy-E, who owned NWA's label, Ruthless Records, Ice Cube, and a young producer-composer named Andre Young, better known as Dr. Dre, and
Dre.
widely regarded as the best ear in rap. When the DOC's first album, No One Can Do It Better, came out on Ruthless, it produced a single, It's Funky Enough, that hit number 5 on Billboard's top rap singles chart. Russell Poole found many more questions than answers in one of the first LAPD crime reports he read that involved Suge Knight's vendetta against Puffy Combs and Bad Boy Entertainment. The victim, named in the report, was an independent record promoter from New York named Mark Anthony Bell, who worked occasionally for his old high school classmate Puffy Combs. According to Bell, he had been contacted back in September, shortly after Jake Robles' death, by a man who refused to give his name but promised that if Bell cooperated, he could get a record deal. When he asked what cooperation meant, Bell recalled, the man said he wanted home addresses for both Puffy Combs and Combs' mother. Write those on a piece of paper, step outside, and drop the paper on the ground, he was told, and no one would ever know he had snitched. Bell insisted that he didn't know where Puffy lived, said he didn't want to get involved, then hung up.
Hmm.
The caller never identified himself as an employee of Death Row Records, but Bell felt certain that he was. Bell was in Los Angeles on business 3 months later when he learned that his
Hmm.
friend Roderick Nixon had been hired to photograph the guests at Death Row Records' Christmas party in the Chateau LeBlanc mansion on
Oh wow.
Astral Drive in the Hollywood Hills. He and Nixon stopped by Death Row's office on Wilshire Boulevard, Bell explained, to ask if he could get an invitation. The manager they spoke to made a phone call, then said there would be no problem. I should have known they were setting me up, Bell told the police later. He and Roderick arrived at the party about 10:30 that evening, Bell said. Suge Knight and his entourage didn't show up until almost 2 a.m. Suge was making his rounds when he noticed Bell standing near the dance floor, then approached him and asked, "Why didn't you cooperate when you had the chance?"
1 second, guys. All right, guys, we got power. We got power. Okay.
He insisted he didn't have Puffy's home address and told Knight that Puffy's business number was listed in the phone book, Bell explained. Suge then asked him to come upstairs to the VIP room for a little chat. Before he could decline the invitation, Bell said he was surrounded by 6 other men. 2 of them he recognized immediately as Dr. Dre and Tupac Shakur. All 7 men escorted him upstairs to a room where a reporter from MTV and a photographer from the New York Times were being entertained. Suge's brother-in-law, Norris Anderson, asked the media to leave, held the door for them as they exited, Bell said, then stationed himself as a lookout. Suge pulled a chair into the middle of the room and told him to take a seat, Bell recalled, then sat in another chair directly in front of him, while the others formed a semicircle to his right and left. Suge again demanded to know why Bell wouldn't cooperate and began to ask him a series of questions about Puffy Combs. Tupac Shakur was whispering in Suge's ear the whole time. Meanwhile, an especially scary-looking Blood, whose teeth were covered with gold fronts, began to pace back and forth, then whirled and hit him several times in the face, Bell said. "This is for Jake," Gold Teeth told him, according to Bell. "We're going to kill you." Finally, Suge Knight stood up and walked into the bathroom, Bell said. Moments later, Suge came back with a champagne flute he had filled with urine and told Bell to drink it. When he refused, Bell said Gold Teeth hit him in the face again. Figuring he was a dead man anyway, Bell explained, he dropped the champagne glass and dashed across the room, hoping to escape off a balcony that was suspended above the mansion's lobby entrance. The whole group caught him at the guardrail before he could get over it, Bell said. Suge had him by the left shoulder and leg while the others tried to pull him back, all except Tupac, who was using his fists to pound on the promoter's fingers where they clung to the rail. When they finally pried him loose, Bell said, the whole group fell on him, punching, kicking, swinging bottles and throwing champagne glasses. "Body blows only," Suge roared. Gold Teeth got him in a chokehold, Bell said, and squeezed until he nearly passed out.
Damn.
The beating and choking stopped, Bell said, only when he played dead on the floor. Someone stripped him of his wallet, his Rolex watch, and a gold necklace studded with diamonds that was worth almost $20,000. Then Suge told him to stand up. When he finally got to his feet, Bell said Suge began acting as if they were old friends. "You can be part of this team," Knight told him. "I can make you rich. Do you want to make $500,000? Do you have friends that could deliver?" Suge then walked him to the bathroom and told him to clean up. From the corner of his eye, Bell said, he saw a couple of the Bloods talking on what appeared to be police radios and getting excited. As Suge opened the bathroom door, he said, "If you want your jewelry back, call me tomorrow and we'll talk about it," Bell recalled. Gold Teeth immediately walked up and asked Suge, "Should I do him?" "He's good," Suge replied. "You're lucky he said that," Gold Teeth told Bell, then turned and headed toward the door. "Don't let him leave till he's cleaned up," Suge told Norris Anderson, then walked out of the room, trailed by Tupac and Gold Teeth. Anderson let him leave a few minutes later, but by then a pair of LAPD officers already were at the mansion. Roderick Nixon, who said he knew something wasn't right when he saw Bell being led upstairs by Suge and the others, had spotted his friend about 15 minutes later hanging from the rail of the balcony as Tupac Shakur threw punches at him. Nixon promptly called the police on a payphone and fled the scene. The female LAPD officer who met him at the bottom of the stairs asked, "Are you Mark?" Bell remembered, then said he had a friend who was worried that his life might be in danger. The men who had assaulted him were all within 10 feet, eavesdropping on the conversation. Suge Knight chose that moment to straighten a Christmas tree nearby, then turned to look at him over the female officer's shoulder, Bell said. The expression on Suge's face convinced him he would never get out of LA alive if he talked, Bell explained, and he told the officer, "Everything's okay." "Did you fall?" the officer asked. "Yes," Bell answered, then asked if she would call him a cab. The officer stayed until the taxi arrived to take him to a friend's house in West Covina. The next day, his friends took Bell to the hospital where he was treated for a hemorrhaging left eye, a laceration on his left
Mm.
elbow, an abrasion on his right arm, a large swelling behind his left ear, and bruises that covered most of
Damn,
his
they
body.
beat his ass.
Bell did show up at the LAPD's Hollywood station to tell the police what had really happened to him at the party,
Wow,
but
what he
not
did?
until 4 days later, when he filed a complaint of assault and robbery against each of the 7 men who had been in the VIP room with him.
Wow.
Russell Poole was astounded to discover that the district attorney's office had refused to file charges. Numerous witnesses had seen Bell being forced up the stairs to the VIP room, and his friend Nixon had observed part of the assault while
Damn.
Bell was attempting to escape off the balcony. Even 5 days after the beating, officers who interviewed Bell noted that both his
Mm.
eyeballs were reddened by ruptured blood vessels, and that he had cuts, scrapes, contusions, and swellings
Wow.
over most of his body. The DA's office, however, insisted that its case had been compromised by Bell's failure to
He
report
passed
his
away.
beating at the time of the incident while police officers were
Hey,
present.
damn. Wow, man. That's
For
that was a
more of these
crazy story, man. Suge ass was crazy. Shit, he go around beating people ass. He just thought he could do the, that's what I'm saying. He got too much power too young, too fast. You know, when he got that money from Jimmy Iovine to run, because he got majority of that money from Jimmy Iovine. I mean Harry O, I think, got him the seed money to get started, which got him the buzz. Harry O gave him the money to get the buzz going of Death Row. You know what I'm saying? Back then, you had to get buzz. You know, and him being a no name, and then he was able to get Dre. He needed to keep Dre some kind of way, so he needed to have money to be able to keep Dre. So he got that from Harry O. Then also, producing their own stuff and advertising their own stuff. They caught the attention of Jimmy Iovine, which he gave them more funding, millions of dollars of funding, and yeah, he I think he was just too young having that kind of power. But yeah, that's crazy. What do y'all think about this video, man? Go ahead and leave your comments and subscribe to Charles O'Neill's World. Appreciate it.